Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South, episode 357. Going to be revisiting week one of the AFC South and looking forward to week two in the AFC South. I'm your host, Mike Patton. Of course, you can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton 82. Of course, you can find me on Instagram and threads at this THA, not THE underscore general underscore MP. Just real quick programming note. We're supposed to have a show tonight with Arabia. Of course, due to something coming up, that will be rescheduled and she'll be on the show, but just won't be tonight. Of course, everything's all good. Definitely going to have her on the show. Just didn't work out for this episode. But what we're going to get into this episode is revisiting week one for all of the teams in the AFC South. Some of them had great things happen. Some of them not so great things happen. We're going to get into that in 1 second. But up first, of course, we have the Get Off Your Chest segment. And I just titled it this time, You Did It Anyway. Now, some of the people that's heard the show last week or heard one of the shows last week know exactly what I'm talking about. The reactions after week one. Fans becoming fanatics super quickly. All of a sudden, seasons are over because of the result of week one. Yeah, I'm talking to some Titans fans with that one. I'm talking to some Texans fans too with that one. Both teams did not fare well. And they lost. And of course, everything was happening. The sky is falling and everything's over with one game. And there were plenty of other teams, of course, in the NFL. Same thing, same reaction from their fans. I just want to tell these fans, you did it anyway. I told you not to do it. You're going to stress yourself out after 1 week. 1 week. We're not even halfway through the season. The season's over. We're not this, we're not that. It's over. No, it's not over yet. It's only one game. A lot of things can change between week 1 and week 18. A lot of things can change. So, that holding call that your team got, that bad performance from position players or position in general, or a player in general, I should say, those things could change next week, right? They go out there and practice and all those different things, and they can be better the next week. You know that, right? And there is this certain saying, just bring it in real tight. It's called any given Sunday. It can happen. Anybody can be beaten in the NFL any given Sunday. We've seen it happen time and time again. So can you kind of calm down with the instant reactions? I know some teams did not perform up to the level you wanted them to perform. Totally get it. However, it is 1 week. Now, if we get to weeks 3 or 4, and some of these teams are performing not so well, yeah, you might have to question a few things at that point. Yeah, but nah, it's week 1, folks. It's week 1. Back on up. Take a deep breath. Breathe a little bit, sigh, walk around, do whatever you got to do to calm yourself down. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. We haven't even made it halfway or a quarter through the season yet. Okay? We got it? You good? There we go. That was the Get Off Your Chest segment. Of course, got to talk down to people that are already throwing away the season after 1 week. It almost reminds me of the Cleveland Indians fan in Major League. He just threw away the season and anything happened. Oh, they'll blow it anyway. That's what I was seeing on social media from a lot of different fans. All right. But, of course, we got to get into this week 1 and the results of week 1. We had 2 teams win in the AFC South. We had 2 teams lose in the AFC South. And I can bet you that one of these teams, a lot of people did not expect to lose. We're going to find out what team that is in a minute. But, of course, we're going to talk about week one for the Tennessee Titans. They went out to Denver to take on the Denver Broncos, of course. Now, in this game, everyone was watching because Cam Ward, his first start in the NFL. How's he going to do against this vaunted Denver defense, things like that? And he made a few plays. I mean, I still remember the third down play. He stepped up into the pocket, still looking down the field, sees Tony Pollard to his left, and basically just checks it down to him, throws it to him while he's moving forward. Big gain. Very, very good to see that he's seeing the field. He actually ran on one play. Of course, I don't think that play counted because it was a holding penalty. But he did a lot of different things that were really, really good. I mean, the numbers, it says he's 12 for 28 for 112 yards. Didn't throw any touchdowns. Titans didn't score a touchdown, by the way. It was 20-12 in the loss to Denver. But I will say he had a few passes that were dropped that should have been caught. He had Ridley had a drop. Gunnar Helm kind of bobbled one, kind of going out of bounds. There was that one pass that Alec Iomanner caught that he had the elbow down, and there was talk about elbow wasn't 2 feet or things like that. Just with Coach Callahan, but of course, that's been talked about the last couple of days, and I'm pretty sure everyone has understood his position and what happened and heard his explanation at this point of, not I guess not them not knowing exactly that the elbow was 2 feet or someone dropped the ball there. That should have been a challenge for Brian Callahan. That should have been a first down. But I digress. That week is over. But I will say that, for all the mistakes that happened, I will tell you, the Titans did have 13 penalties for 131 yards. Again, I tell you, 13 penalties for 131 yards. It's a lot. That's a whole lot. But even with that, they were still right there to potentially win this game, which is, astonishing if you have that many penalties. But they did create 4 turnovers. The problem with those turnovers is they only got 6 points out of them. Big problem there. But again, going back to finishing drives. You got to be able to finish drives. They weren't able to do so. I wasn't saying it's all on Cameron Ward. Of course, he's like I mentioned, he's 12 or 28. However, he can count maybe like at least 5 or 6 passes that should have probably been caught that would have either extended a drive or potentially put them in position to score a touchdown. So that's something that is a little frustrating to see in your first game. With the penalties, the drop passes, and things like that, and not capitalizing on the other team mistake. Which basically Bo Nix was, he had 3 turnovers by himself. Pretty much had 2 interceptions, and then he basically turned around and ran into Jeffrey Simmons, and of course Jeffrey Simmons strips him of the football, and Titans got it back. But kind of flipping forward to this week, they will be taking on the Los Angeles Rams here in Nashville at Nissan Stadium. It will be interesting just to see, what lessons they take from week 1 to week 2. I know that Calvin Ridley is a very, very talented wide receiver. He had some key drops. I know some that he would love to have back. Here's another chance for him this week to go out there and make some things happen and kind of atone for the first week. So I know that Cameron Ward believes in him and believes he's a top flight wide receiver. So this is his week to atone for that. And I will say this Rams defense, they got after the Houston Texans. I will say the Houston Texans, we're going to talk about them a little later, but I'm not going to spoil that for anyone. We'll talk about them next, actually. But they got after the Houston Texans offense. They do have the reigning defensive rookie of the year in Jared Verse. They got Brandon Fisk up front, too. They have some guys that can play some football for them on the defensive side of the ball. So that'll be an interesting matchup just to see how the Titans offensive line does, against these guys that are up front. And then for the Titans wide receivers, there's going to be opportunities. There's definitely going to be opportunities. The safeties for the Rams are solid. Corners, that's where you can kind of go at the Rams. If they can get, those matchups, preferable matchups out there and make the catches and continue to It'll make those catches that were there last week. This week, could be some explosive plays happen for the Tennessee Titans in their first home game here of the 2025 season. Boy, oh boy. But, when switch over offensively, or excuse me, defensively versus the Rams, you got to go against Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. Boy, oh boy. Yeah, we saw what happened with Houston. Houston, you gave up Puka Nacua going for over 100 yards. Of course, Devontae Adams, he went for maybe like 50 or 60 yards, but he's always very, very capable, and he's always been one of the best route runners in the NFL, and he's very unconventional with it. If you've watched him play, you know what I'm saying. But it's just going to be really, really interesting just to see what the Titans can do. They did create a lot of pressure when it came to blitzing off the edges, or not blitzing off the edges, but their edge rushers. But they do create more push up front with Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat, which they made their presence felt, but they need to make their presence felt even more, especially if two of the interior offensive linemen for the Rams are out this game, which they are both sporting sprained ankles. If they're both out this week, boy, oh boy, Jeffrey Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat should be licking their chops. But we'll see what happens there. And also the running game, Kyron Williams, he's always a factor. You always got to pay attention to him. But, week one, not the finish the Titans want. Week two, another chance to go get it right. And the same thing can go for the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans didn't necessarily have the offensive explosion that they wanted in week one versus the Los Angeles Rams. Yeah, losing 14-9. Yeah, it's a pretty bad one. Yeah. But I will say that Nick Chubb, he averaged over 4 yards per carry. Offensively, you didn't get Nico Collins involved a lot. I mean, your leading receiver, Jaden Higgins, I believe, and he's a rookie. I think you need to get Nico Collins the ball early, often, as many times as you can, because he is just that good. And for him to not really be leading them in targets nor catches, that's a little makes you think a little bit. I will say it is week one, so I'm not going to overreact. But, in the second game versus the Bucs, they need to give that man the ball. If he doesn't get the ball a lot in this next game, then tend to start to rise up just a little bit. But getting back to the game, offensive line, there's been a question mark for the Houston Texans. I wouldn't say they solved that question mark in this game. Just watching a little bit of it, yeah, they got a little bit to go. They've got some guys in there that people looked at like, huh? They're using him to replace him? What? Yeah, like Ariante Ursery, young guy, going to get better as he goes along, but he wasn't exactly great in that game. Cam Robinson, the other side, interesting. You do have some veteran guys inside as well. And then, of course, I believe Jake Andrews, I believe is hurt, and there'll be another center that will be starting this week. So, a lot going on when it comes to the Houston Texans, that O-line and that offense. They've got to get it together. Now, we'll say defensively, they got pieces all over the place. Jalen Petrie is a man. Yes, he does his thing. So I got to give him credit where credit is due. He does his thing. You got Stingley out there on the outside, Laster on the other side, and you've got pass rushers and run stuffers in the box. Now, they held the Rams to 14 points. That's a really, really good thing, given what the Rams are capable of doing and the pieces that they have as well. So the defense, I think, will, they'll definitely continue to carry that over. They're facing the Bucs next week, and that would be Mr. Baker Mayfield. Shake and bake 2025. Yeah, he's out there. He's going to be doing this thing. And, he's definitely got him a favorite wide receiver in Mr. Ibuka from Ohio State. They hooked up a couple times versus New Orleans. I don't know. They were playing New Orleans. That was the Saints that were playing against the what was the Saints playing against? I don't know. But anyway, they weren't playing against New Orleans anyway. But New Orleans was playing against Arizona. But in that game, the Bucs were doing their thing. Baker Mayfield was making it happen. The running game, you didn't really hear a ton out of that. But when you've got those explosive weapons in the passing game, Mike Evans and Buckham. You got your tight end Braid out there. You got some pieces out there for Mr. Baker Mayfield to work with. And that's going to be an interesting proposition for the Houston Texans, who, for my money, will be a top 5 defense this year. Big challenge for them. Monday Night Football facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Boy, oh boy. Interesting two games to start the AFC South slate, and it's only going to get better. We're going to talk about the Colts and the Jaguars. But we're going to talk about them more after this commercial break on touring the AFC South.
EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash are two of the best beard grooming products for men worldwide. They help promote growth, keep your beard moisturized and soft, and enhance your overall upkeep of your facial hair. And with the new promo code MPAFC10, you can get 10% off all these products. Just go to www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. Again, that's www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. And again, the promo code MPAFC10. Again, MPAFC10, where you can get 10% off any products except for beard boxes. So treat your beard better today by going to get these the EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash.
All right, and we are back on touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. And like I mentioned before the commercial break, we're going to talk about the Colts and the Jaguars, the winning teams in the division this week. We're going to start with the Indianapolis Colts. Now, the Indianapolis Colts took on the hapless Miami Dolphins. Yes, I say hapless Miami Dolphins because it doesn't sound like great things are happening down there. You got Tyreek Hill, not very happy. You got Tua throwing interceptions. You got defense that just did not stop anybody on Sunday. Let me tell you how they did not stop anybody on Sunday. Daniel Jones, 22 for 29 for, 272 yards and 1 touchdown. He also rushed for 26 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was balling. Now, that's not to say that Daniel Jones is just some other, whatever out there, because he actually did make some really, really good plays in this game. I mean, you've got the pass he threw to Alec Pierce, which is down the field. Now, I know I've criticized him in the past about just being kind of a dink and dunk guy, but I cannot criticize him about what he did to attack them down the field. He hit MPJ, Michael Pittman Jr. on a long pass for a touchdown. He actually hit and like I mentioned, Alec Pierce, it was a back shoulder throw on a fade. Actually, it was a fly pattern, essentially. He basically threw it in between the defensive back and the corner. It's almost like he threw it to the perfect spot. Back shoulder throw. Alec Pierce turns around, catches it, gets both feet in bounds. Perfect throw by Daniel Jones. I don't think I've really ever said that in regards to a deep throw when it comes to him. So, I mean, he actually played a really, really good game. So, hey, I thought we were going to lean more on Jonathan Taylor offensively. Jonathan Taylor had a solid game, but Daniel Jones was the man out there. Yeah, he did his thing. Hey, got to give him props for that. And, hey, it is what it is. And then, of course, defensively, I think Cam Bonham got the party started, got that interception, did his dance in the end zone. Man, I've been looking forward to him doing a end zone dance all season. And I'm going to see it more because I watch the AFC South a lot. So, yeah, hey, I'm interested to see what else he comes up with, whether it's going to be a team celebration or his own celebration. But whatever it is, it's definitely going to be fun to watch, and I'll be tuned in every single time it happens. But yeah, the Colts defense definitely looked different. I mean, you had guys coming out there, they're coming from this way, that way. You had Latu dropping back and I guess a zone blitz and picking off a pass from Tua for the Dolphins. I was like, wow, okay, where was this at last season? Well, I'll tell you where it was at last season. It wasn't in Indianapolis because Gus Bradley ran a very, very stationary defense, and it is very obvious that this defense is not going to be stationary at all. It's going to be moving parts at all times, and I'm pretty sure Colts fans are very excited to see what all Lou Anarumo can do with this defense, especially with the added pieces of Mooney Ward and Cam Bonham and all the other different pieces that he's using in different ways. I will say Mooney Ward is in the concussion protocol, so his availability as the week goes on, that'll be something to watch as well. But definitely a good game for them overall, and a great game for them to come out to start the season openers, because they've had problems with season openers. They hadn't won one in like 20 years. The Colts haven't, yeah. But hey, they changed things up just a little bit. All right. Now, as far as Colts, and they're facing next week, it will be the Broncos, those same Broncos that played the Tennessee Titans and beat them 20-12. Now, I will say, with Lou Anarumo and that defense, I'm pretty sure Bo Nix might have some issues. I mean, it's going to be the first road game of the season for him. So I would expect that Bo Nix is going to have some sort of issues identifying things, especially with Lou Anarumo moving all those pieces around. So I do expect them to get a couple more turnovers in this game. And of course, the frenzy of the Indianapolis Colts fans will be yelling and losing their minds when that happens. So I expect that to happen. I do wonder how the Denver Broncos interior and offensive line is going to hold up against DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, because it's those guys. You thought Devondre Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons were Devondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons are a handful. These two guys in the middle of this Colts defense are too. So, no breaks for the Denver Broncos in these first couple games against these big old boys inside. You know what I'm saying? But it'll be interesting just to watch to see if the Broncos make any type of adjustments in their protections and things like that. And then Bo Nix kind of settles down and throws it to his team and not the other team. Because, I mean, honestly, looking at those couple interceptions, it looked like the Titans kind of baited him into some of those things too, because it's all I got for you. Just it's what it is. We'll see what happens when it comes to that. But of course, Daniel Jones, great performance against the Miami Dolphins. Interested to see how that performance changes for better or worse, or stays even against the Denver Broncos, because we know the Denver Broncos, they gonna do one thing. They're gonna get after that quarterback, because they led the NFL in sacks last year, and they started off pretty doggone well against the Tennessee Titans. So it's going to be really, really interesting just to watch if they're able to get to the quarterback, one, get some sacks, one, and rattle Daniel Jones. Because, if they're able to rattle Daniel Jones, I mean, we're going to see if he's, that guy, or if week one was just a bad Miami team. We're going to find out one way or the other in this game. It'll be interesting just to find out and see, but a lot of different things to see in that game. I mean, I'm very interested to see how the pass game works. And then also another key fact, just want to point this out. The one thing that Denver Broncos defense did not defend well last year, tight ends. Well, who do the Colts have as one of their primary weapons? Tight end, Hunter Warren. Whew. Now, tight end Warren is their tight end. Oh boy. That'll be interesting just to see how he's able to do a few things out there and matriculate through that defense, because he had 7 catches for 76 yards last year for last game, I should say. For it's Tyler Warren. I don't know where I got Hunter Warren. It's Tyler Warren. But he had 7 receptions for 76 yards in the last game against the Dolphins, and his teammates said he could have got more. So against the Broncos, a team that's not good against the tight ends, getting Hunter Warren go for 100 yards, yeah, possibly, very much possible. But yeah, it's going to be a good game to watch. Broncos and Colts this week. Another good game finished. It was, good for Jaguars fans, I would say, is the Jaguars week 1 win versus the Carolina Panthers. I mean, they just went out and did their thing. Travis Etienne surprised a lot of people, ran for 100 plus yards, and he also ripped off a 71-yard run. I mean, he kind of had shades of the guy that people saw coming out of Clemson with the explosion and the boom. He hit you and just keep going. So, definitely that was something that Jaguars fans want to see when it came to ETN and, would they use him a lot or not or anything like that. Well, they definitely used him, and he definitely took over being the number one back for this game at least. And of course, they did trade Tank Bigsby this week to the Philadelphia Eagles. So there's one less guy to try to come after his number one spot. My spot coming for that number one spot. I don't know why I did that, but hey, I was hearing ludicrous in my head for some reason. But anyway, Travis Etienne did do his thing at the running back position for that week versus the Carolina Panthers. He holds on to the number one spot at running back for Jacksonville. And he had a great showing. One guy I was kind of a little concerned about, though. Well, two guys, I will say. Looking at the Brian Thomas Jr. performance, I believe he only had maybe like 1-2 catches. That's a little concerning. He's supposed to be your number one wide receiver. Only has like one catch. It's just smidgen concerning. Just it's early in the season, so I can't really say, hey, it's big cause for concern just yet because we're only in week 1. Now, if he gets to week 4 and he has like 1 or 2 catches every week, yeah, we might have to have a little talk about Brian Thomas Jr. at that point. But right now, no, we don't need to have a talk about him. But it's just interesting, something to pay attention to. And of course, Travis Hunter, he had 6 receptions, 33 yards. They're basically trying to get him the ball and let him do what he did. Didn't quite work out probably the way they all wanted to in terms of explosion numbers. And, it is what it is. Now, as far as him playing offense and defense, that was mentioned and that has been mentioned over and over and over and over again by me, you, your mama, and your cousins too. So, it's just basically with him, everyone talked about him playing offense and defense and all those different things. In this game, only had 6 snaps on defense. 6. To me, I'm like, if you're going to use him both ways, I mean, are you going to give him just 6 compared to 44 on offense, by the way? Now, this feeds into them viewing him more as being a wide receiver than a cornerback, but I'm pretty sure Travis would like to play a little bit more than 6 snaps on the opposite side of the ball. But we'll see what happens, but that's something I noticed. And then, of course, speaking of defense, Jordan Lewis has been a great addition for this Jacksonville Jaguars team. Brings something different that they didn't have in that cornerback room. He's got versatility, a lot of inside and outside, brings leadership, and he is a guy that people have wanted around the league. It's just Jacksonville was able to pull it off and get him from Dallas, which is a good thing for them. Now, we're going to go defensively. Ole Fulukon, that dude right there, 10 tackles. You can book him for getting 10 tackles every single game. He is the leader of that Jaguars defense. You do have the guys up front. You got Trayvon Walker. You got Eric Armstead. You got Josh Hines-Allen. Those 3 guys, I expect for them to, continue to turn up the heat as the season goes on. And then, the back end, the safeties, there's a little questions there. I will say we'll see what happens and who develops and who steps up and if they're able to kind of hold up on the back end. You got your Murrays, you got your Savages, you got your different guys back there playing safety. So all I'm going to say is it'll be interesting as the season goes on. But, overall, good win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Great way to start 1-0. Now they head to take on the Bengals. Joe Burrow. Don't be Joe Burrow. I know his name. But it's going to be, I expect, what do I expect in this game? Maybe we see Travis Hunter more defensively in this game just because you have a T. Higgins and you have a Jamar Chase out there. Yeah, you might. But, we'll see what happens there. I'll be interested to see if his snaps on defense take an uptick or not. Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker, hey, this is your game. Go get Joe Burrow because more than likely they're going to pass the ball a lot. And that means you get to pin your ears back and go after the quarterback. And especially if they're in like 3rd down and unfavorable distances. Yeah, it's your time to shine at that point. Offensively, I mean, you got Trevor Lawrence versus a Bengals defense that has not necessarily been great for the last 2 years. I mean, I will say they gave up 17 points last week, so it wasn't like they gave up the world last week, but they didn't necessarily light it on fire either. So I would look to see Trevor Lawrence makes some plays with Brian Thomas Jr. This would be the healthy game potentially for Brian Thomas Jr. in terms of healthy numbers potentially. We'll see what happens there. And then also Travis Hunter, I expect something explosive to happen with him on offense. And, just looking around, the Jaguars, if they're able to control things offensively, I give them a very good shot to win this game and moving to 2-0. Yes, that would be something right there. Jaguars are 2-0. I cannot remember the last time the Jaguars were 2-0 to start the season. Be very, very interesting to see. And, of course, that wraps up the show for this week, talking about the AFC South, giving you a kind of insight into the AFC South that maybe you just did not know, and maybe you just really needed from me. But I gave you what I got. All right, of course, like I mentioned, this was episode 357 of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. Again, you can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton82. That's MikePaton 82 on, again, the artist formerly known as Twitter. And you can find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE, _general_MP. Also, you can find me on, of course, the show. You can find the show on all listening platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. You can also find Touring the AFC South on the Mike Patton Network on YouTube, where you can go and like and subscribe and click the bell so that way you don't miss any episodes of any of the 3 podcasts that I do. Yes, I said 3. I've got This Woman Works. That's another podcast that I have. And I also have a podcast called Let's Talk HBCUs with my guy, Scott Wallace. So definitely check it out. Check out those episodes, share those episodes, spread the love. People, please do so. I'm looking up this fact for the Jaguars. I was very nosy and wanted to see when was the last time they were 2-0. Let's see. Last time the Jaguars were 2-0, 2018. So 7 years ago. 7 years ago. So there we go. We'll see if they can match that one for this season. Of course, again, thank you all for tuning into this episode of Touring the AFC South. We're out. Peace.